the project that I always have in mind when we speak about tiles and iconic projects, it's Pavilhão de Portugal in Expo that was built for the World Exhibition of 1998, correct? And where architect Caesar developed in a huge scale, right, a special color to match the color of the water mirror in front. It was in front, and we are still using it. We are still selling it. And what is amazing about this specific color is that the idea is to have all of the tiles to be completely different one from the other, although with the same color, because there are reflex. The reflex in the water do this to the water surface. So the idea was to replicate this to the tiles. Tiles have been part of my life and part of of Portuguese heritage also. I remember my summer house when I was a kid, and it was amazing spending time in the kitchen and looking to all the different small details of all the a bit naive paintings, but it was amazing. It was all of the same, but at the same time, all of them slightly different because they were hand painted. So just years later, almost 40 years later, when we bought this beautiful company, Viva Lamego, I realized that the small differences are part of the process because this is not an industrial process. All of them, they are hand painted. So that's why there are slightly nuances between them, and that's what makes them really unique and beautiful. There are always small nuances, small differences that in the big scale makes them, gives a mural or gives a project a special vibration, almost like a texture. When you compare to a boring, plain, industrial tile surface. We started working with artists and architects probably 100 years ago, okay? And that's what makes this company unique. And it's probably because of being challenged by the most modern artists of each generation that we are still here when most of the traditional factories closed. At Viva Lamego, we have a very good R&D department, and what we like to do the most is to adapt old techniques to modern projects. What does this mean? For example, we've just delivered really crazy projects from probably the best well-known Portuguese artists of our generation now, which is Joana Vasconcelos. And it's a full-functioning swimming pool for a sculpture park in Scotland, in Edinburgh. And it's a swimming pool with 11,400 hand-painted tiles. What have we done? We have adapted the traditional Portuguese techniques of hand-painting tiles to the harsh climate conditions of Edinburgh. So all the tiles are frost resistant. So we have adapted the hand painting techniques to a frost resistant bisque. Okay? And some of them, there's the swimming pool, and then there is a nice terrace. It's like a splash. It's a drop of water that drops in the floor and did a splash. The splash is terrace, okay? And it needs to be anti-slippery. So we are able to adapt the specificities of each project to through our traditional techniques. And that's what is really challenging and at the same time quite unique and amazing to do. We work with clay, we work with earth, right? And it's terracotta, which in Latin and in Italian means fired earth. So we work with a very sustainable material, okay, that's being used for thousands of years, probably. Okay. The tiles have this advantage to protect the buildings from the climate, right? And to make it cool during the hot summer Lisbon summers. Some years now, the tiles were out of fashion, and probably specifically in Portugal, because of the work of architect Cisa Vieira. He was bold enough 20 years ago to start doing facades in tiles. Cisa is really someone, he has a vision towards the Portuguese materials, absolutely, and he uses without any complex in his projects. And this started probably a trend, and we are seeing more and more younger architects using traditional Portuguese materials in architectural. Stone, wood, and tiles. Tiles are being used both on small and large-scale projects. On small projects, it can give you the feeling of a small jewel, for example. A small building, all covered in a very special color, shiny, can just look like a priceless jewel, which is lovely. In bigger scale, you can play with patterns and create movement, for example, and integrate a huge building and make it almost invisible. We feel that we are creating the conditions to pass this heritage to the next generation. So this is exactly what we are doing, is to hiring new people. So the fantastic artists that we have working here for 30 years, most of them, they can pass their know-how and these unique techniques and traditions to the next generation of artisans, so they can sustain and they can keep this heritage and bring it forward to the future generation. If you want a holistic approach to the world and to the living, okay, I think it's very important to play with our hands. More and more, our fingers just touch electronic devices. So what I would suggest for 1 year, it would be to work with materials. So, for example, here we could provide some people to go and to come and work with clay, to shape and create, to learn a lot about color, for example, to see how we do and how we use the pigments. Lots of the colors that we use come from pigments that are made of earth material, rock, stone, clay itself also. They could reconnect with the environment and understand that that's where we came from, and we need to preserve it.